of course, the young people rightly say that the lack of basic and essential commodities such as contraceptives and condoms is almost bordering to what they're saying, a human rights violation. But I must admit that over the years, we are aware that we as a country, before we got to where we are as a lower middle income country, we relied so much on grants. And those of you here who are doing economics are aware that what happens when our country moves up the radar. So this is a period we are calling a period of transition. And sometimes transition doesn't come easy because we were used to being given these things for free, supported by other countries. Now, within the last 5 years, that support has gone down. And therefore, it is time for us now to pick up those essential commodities and put them in our own domestic resources. And so the question then they're asking is, what is the government doing? Some of this conversation we are having about shortages of essential commodities did not come that systematic. That today we did not know that tomorrow we will have a shortage of, for example, donors to buy us condoms. Because it was a normal thing for all of us to get these commodities. And for the last 10 years, although we've been hearing about transition of donors, it only became real when then we moved the upper band in 2014 and then realized that we are now being asked to do what you call counterpart funding for these commodities. And they're not cheap. It cost us about 25 billion Kenya shillings to buy ARVs, to buy condoms, to buy drugs for those who inject drugs, and to also buy commodities for laboratory. Yes, indeed, what they have said, they are taxpayers, and therefore it is the role of the government to provide these commodities. So what has the Ministry of Health done? So what we are doing right now is to begin to identify what we call this fiscal space, so that as donors drop this funding, then we begin picking it up. But we're also looking at efficiency gains. We're also trying to look at some of these programs that have been vertical. How do we bring them together so that when we come here, we are talking not just about one disease like what you're doing today. You're talking about adolescent pregnancies. You're talking about the diseases. We add more diseases that are concerned. In fact, one of the conversations that you must have, like, for example, are sexually transmitted infections. We know, for example, gonorrhea, syphilis are on the increase. These are the same young people we want to talk to. But then they are saying to us that, talk to us, yes, but then give us the agency and the tools to also protect ourselves. But I must also say, even when those commodities are available, I have been in institutions where I found young people using the ring of the condom to tie their socks. And because they did not know the cost of the condom. It was a free-to-use condom. It did not mean that the condom is free. Condoms are expensive. So we need to re-educate ourselves that although these things are provided to us at free cost, they are not free. So we must also change the agency of our young people today. When a young person tells me that they'll have sex that is unprotected because they can't buy a condom, and the same young person goes and buys 18 years. What is that alcohol called? 18 years Glenfiddich. Those bits, they get them. So if a young person has the agency to buy such a drink, but when it comes to condom, they don't realize the importance of a tool that can protect themselves, then we have a problem. And then we need to shift the discussion. The free-to-user commodities. How do we make sure that we also are realizing it is for the sake of ourselves, and you are not saying, I'm fearing pregnancy more than I'm fearing HIV. What makes a young person walk into a pharmacy in the morning and get Postino 2, emergency contraception, instead of thinking the night before to have gotten a condom. Because it's not cheap. It's not cheap, but they buy. It's actually the most selling drug within the pharmacies. What makes a young person not want to buy a self-test kit, and yet they want to buy, or they want to have sex that is unprotected? So we must start asking ourselves, what culture do we have for the young people? And the agency we are building for protection must come right there. So yes, the government has a responsibility, but we must have a cooperation between the citizen and the government for us to win this war. I think that is the direction that we must go. So as we sort out this commodity insecurity issue within the government circles, we also expect citizens to begin taking up some form of decisions that are actually proactive towards ending AIDS.